Hi, this is Chuck Oliver. Welcome to this week's Hidden Wealth Solution Review. Well, I believe U.S. Court of Appeals Judge Hand said it best when he said there's two tax systems in this country, one for the informed and one for the uninformed. And folks, I want to talk to you today very briefly and very quickly about the great wealth transfer trap. See, $84 trillion is projected to change hands for those born between 1946 to 1980 over the next 2 decades. And if you can believe this or not, according to the Census Bureau, and this is where the challenge comes, the greatest growth of 65-year-olds in this country came between 2010 and 2020. In fact, the fastest growth that age has seen since the year 1800. Now, what's the challenge with this? Well, we also know that by 2030, that there's actually going to be more people age 65 in this country than there are 18-year-olds, which is the first time that's ever happened in the history of our country. So more people are pulling on the programs, less people are paying into the tax rolls. And when we talk about this great wealth transfer, the challenge is those that are going to be doing the transferring aren't as prepared as they could be. And we know this because many of you reach out from all over the country saying, I don't want to leave a big tax burden to my children, but I also don't want to keep maintaining or having this big tax burden to myself. And then those that are going to be receiving this great wealth transfer in the form of a trap are also not prepared. And I know that on a weekly basis, typically in our wealth planning practice, because many of you that have inherited these inherited IRAs are seeing your taxes go up because you have to take these inherited required minimum distributions. Well, folks, I'm going to teach this Tuesday how to remove your wealth from Washington and get yourself out of the tax system. This coming Tuesday, I'm going to teach you strategies that have a proven track record of measurable results, from real estate funds to unique business structures that allow deductions. And I'm going to give you a couple different ones right now. So a solid double-digit real estate fund, right, with the ability to get a really nice, roughly 50, 60% tax deduction. And some of you, because of this great wealth transfer, that are exposed to these IRAs and 401ks or high appreciation in your real estate, or maybe your business you're able to sell for a multiple, are somewhat resistant to do that because we work with a lot of you. And folks, don't let the tax tail wag the dog. You can get rid of the tax, but the tidal wave of this great wealth transfer, it's only building. And the trap is only going to continue to get worse. Let me give you two things, or the greatest risks to these. One, is the tax, which I talk about often. The other is the tax risk. The legislative risk is massive. And here's what I mean. They keep changing the rules. And the sad part is, right, that when you've got fewer people paying into the tax rolls, you're going to have to raise taxes. But if you have an administration that's just proposed almost an $8 trillion budget, of which there's over $4 trillion of new taxes, and they're going to have to raise taxes to afford this $8 trillion anyway, you realize our deficit spending through just the first quarter of this year is 50% higher than the deficit spending from last year. And there's no end in sight of them wanting more and more and more and more, folks. And somebody's going to have to pay for that, right? Margaret Thatcher said it best when she said, eventually, the problem with socialism, eventually you run out of other people's money. Don't let that be you. Go to retirementprotected.com. That's retirementprotected.com. There's a strategy. We work with a lot of CPA firms from around the country and top CPAs as part of our team. And one of the strategies provides a 10 times deduction. And we had one CPA that just couldn't get this, just couldn't believe it till he was obviously taught what he didn't know, right? We don't know what we don't know, or you can't be aware of something you've never been made aware of. And by being able to use the tax code to its fullest, using $100,000 allowed this particular client to get a $1 million, 10 times $100,000, a $1 million tax deduction, and got his and his wife's IRAs out of the tax system for good by converting them to Roth IRA. But use the least amount of capital for the greatest deductions that you can find in the tax code, legally, ethically, morally, all above line, all no tax audit signals, etc., right? Just using the tax code to its fullest. Again, Judge Hand, two tax systems in this country, one for the informed and one for the uninformed. Get informed, folks. Don't be part of this great wealth transfer tidal wave trap. You can remove yourself. Retirementprotected.com, retirementprotected.com. Imagine tax-free or a low-tax retiree. That is possible. Retirementprotected.com.